Samsung just did something it has never done before. On July 22nd, 2026, at an Unpacked event in London, the company didn't launch one book-style foldable. It launched two, and one of them looks nothing like any Galaxy Fold that came before it. This is the Galaxy Z Fold8 Ultra, and alongside it, the Galaxy Z Fold8, a completely new shape, roughly the size of a passport. Both go on sale August 7th. Both are expensive, and one of them is genuinely, seriously interesting. So let's talk about what Samsung actually built, what it costs, and whether either of these is worth your money. Start with the name because it's the first thing that confused everyone. There is no Z Fold 8 Pro. Samsung retired that idea before it existed. Instead, the company borrowed the naming scheme from its S-series flagships. The true successor to last year's Z Fold 7, the tall, narrow book that folds open into a small tablet, is now called the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Ultra. And the plain Galaxy Z Fold 8 name got handed to something entirely new. A wide, short foldable that's closer to a paperback than a phone. Same family, two very different philosophies. Let's begin with the Ultra, because that's the flagship. The headline number is 4.1 millimeters. That's how thick the Galaxy Z Fold 8 Ultra is when it's unfolded. For 0.1. For context, that's thinner than most USB-C ports are tall. Folded, it comes in at 8.9 millimeters, and the whole thing weighs 215 grams. That's lighter than several ordinary slab phones on the market right now, and this thing opens into an 8-inch display. Samsung pulled that off with something it's calling Flex Titanium. Underneath the flexible OLED panel, there's now a titanium alloy layer. It does three jobs at once. It stiffens the screen so it doesn't feel spongy when you press it, it absorbs impact so the panel is harder to damage, and it flattens out the crease. Samsung isn't claiming the crease is gone, but in person, it's the least visible it has ever been on a Samsung foldable. The hinge got reworked too. There's a redesigned lip on the opening edge that makes it easier to get a fingernail under, so you can flip it open one-handed without the awkward two-hand pry that Fold owners know all too well. Now, the displays. The main screen is an 8-inch foldable dynamic LTPO AMOLED 2X panel running at 2256 by 2504 pixels. Adaptive 120 Hz refresh rate, HDR10+, and peak brightness of 3000 nits, which Samsung says is about 15% brighter than the Fold 7. That matters more than it sounds. Foldable inner screens have always struggled in direct sunlight because they use a plastic top layer instead of glass. 3000 nits finally brings this in line with a proper flagship slab. On the outside, you get a 6.5-inch cover display, Full HD+, 120 Hz, protected by Corning Gorilla Glass Ceramic 2. It's a genuinely usable phone screen. You are not compromising when the device is shut. Under the hood, Qualcomm's Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 for Galaxy, built on a 3-nanometer process. That's an octa-core layout with 2 Prime Orion cores clocked at 4.74 GHz and 6 performance cores at 3.62. Paired with the Adreno 840 GPU, you get 12 GB of RAM on the 256 and 512 GB models, and 16 GB if you go for the 1 TB configuration. Storage is UFS 4, and there's no microSD slot, so pick your capacity carefully at checkout because you're stuck with it for the life of the phone. Then there's the camera, and this is where the Ultra earns its name. Samsung took the array straight out of this year's Galaxy S26 Ultra and dropped it into a foldable. That means a 200-megapixel main sensor at f/1.7 on a 1/1.3-inch sensor with optical stabilization. A 50-megapixel ultra-wide with a 120-degree field of view. And a 10-megapixel telephoto with 3 times optical zoom, stretching to 30 times space zoom. Inside and out, you get 10-megapixel selfie cameras. Video tops out at 8K at 30 frames per second, or 4K at 60 with 10-bit HDR. And Samsung brought over Super Steady with horizontal lock from the S26 Ultra. That's the feature that keeps your footage level even when your hands are tilting. If you shoot handheld, that one feature is worth more than the megapixel count. Battery is the other big story. 5,000 milliamp hours, and for the first time in a Samsung foldable, it's a silicon carbon cell. Samsung resisted this chemistry for years while Chinese manufacturers ran ahead with it. Silicon carbon packs more energy into the same physical volume, which is exactly what you need when your phone is 4 mm thick. Compared to the Fold 7's 4200 mAh, that's a serious jump. Samsung rates it at 27 hours of video playback. Charging finally moved to 45 watts wired, up from the 25 watts the Fold line had been stuck on since the Fold 2. Samsung says 0 to 67% in 30 minutes. Wireless charging sits at 20 watts. One catch worth knowing: there are no magnets built into the chassis, so if you want to use a Qi 2 or MagSafe style charger, you'll need a magnetic case. Everything else is flagship checklist: IP48 dust and water resistance, an advanced armor aluminum frame, Gorilla Glass Victus Ceramic 2 on the cover, Victus 2 on the back, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6.0, ultra-wideband USB-C 3.2, Samsung DeX, stereo speakers, side-mounted fingerprint reader. Colors are graphite, cream, violet shadow, and a green shadow that's exclusive to Samsung's own store. Now the other phone, the Galaxy Z Fold8. This one is not a downgrade. It's a different idea. Samsung took the book-style foldable and rotated the concept. Instead of tall and narrow, it's wide and short. Closed, it's shaped roughly like a passport. Open, you get a 7.6-inch screen in a 4:3 aspect ratio. The cover display is 5.5 inches in a tall 10:16 shape. Samsung is pitching this squarely at people who consume content rather than create it. 4:3 is the shape you want for reading, for browsing, for a movie on a tray table. The tall, narrow cover screen is the shape you want for TikTok, Reels, and YouTube Shorts. It weighs 201 grams, making it, by Samsung's claim, the lightest foldable in the world. 4.5 mm unfolded, 9.7 closed. Same flex titanium build. Same Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5. Same 3000 nits of brightness. Where it gives ground is the camera. You get two 50-megapixel sensors, a wide and an ultra-wide, and that's it. No telephoto, so zoom is digital only up to 10 times. Still shoots 8K at 30. And Samsung threw in a genuinely clever software feature called My Fan Cam. Record a video of a crowded scene, tell the AI which subject to follow, and it automatically crops and reframes the footage around that person. For anyone filming concerts, kids' sports, or live events, that's a real time saver. Battery is 4800 mAh, also silicon carbon, also 45-watt charging. Colors are lavender, graphite, cream, and a Samsung-exclusive pistachio. Software is identical across both phones. Android 17 with One UI 9 out of the box, and, importantly, 7 years of operating system and security updates. Buy one of these in 2026 and it's supported into 2033. The AI story has moved past novelty this year. Now Nudge now works across multiple windows at once. If your friends are picking a restaurant in a chat app in one pane, it can surface nearby options in another, pulling from search, maps, and your calendar without you asking. Photo Assist accepts plain voice or text prompts for generative editing. Video auto reframing keeps subjects centered. Semantic search lets you find things on your phone by describing them in normal language. And Smart Switch got a big upgrade. You can now scan a QR code on an iPhone and wirelessly pull over messages, notes, voice recordings, Wi-Fi passwords, passkeys, eSIM details, and even your home screen layout. Now the part that hurts: pricing. The Galaxy Z Fold8 Ultra starts at $2,099 for 256 gigabytes, $2,299 for 512, $2,699 for a terabyte. In the UK, that's £1,899 to start. In Europe, €2,199. The Galaxy Z Fold8 starts at $1,899, rising to $2,099, then $2,499. That's about $100 more than the equivalent phone last year, and Samsung has been fairly open about why. Memory chip prices have risen sharply. Analysts covering the launch actually noted they expected a bigger increase than this, which suggests Samsung is absorbing some of that cost to keep the lineup competitive. Pre-orders opened on launch day. General availability is August 7th. And there are real discounts floating around, up to $1,200 in trade-in credit in the US, plus $200 off both Fold models without any trade-in at all. Carriers are aggressive too, with T-Mobile and AT&T running deals that bring the standard Fold 8 down dramatically on the right plan. So who should buy what? If you're coming from a Galaxy Z Fold 6 or older, the Fold 8 Ultra is a substantial upgrade: thinner, brighter, better camera, much better battery, faster charging. If you're on a Fold 7, it's a harder sell. The camera and the battery are the two genuine reasons, and if neither of those is a pain point for you right now, sitting this one out is completely reasonable. If you've never owned a foldable and you're curious, the wide Galaxy Z Fold 8 is the more interesting purchase. It's $200 cheaper, it's the lightest one made, and its shape is designed around what most people actually do with their phones: watch, read, scroll, rather than around spec sheet bragging rights. And if you want the best camera in a foldable that exists today, there's only one answer, and it costs $2,099. Either way, 2026 is the year the foldable stopped being a compromise. That's worth paying attention to, even if the price tag isn't.